The firstborn sacrifice, the story of Isaac, and how he played an important role in Israel's history. Abraham is a friend of God, and now he's reached his old age along with his wife Sarah. And God makes a promise to Abraham that he would become the father of many nations. Sarah hears God's promise to Abraham, and she thought it was quite funny because she thought, how could I have a child at this age and become the mother of many nations? However, when God says something, it is yes and amen, and he is faithful to fulfill his promise. It is not a laughing matter. God is not a respecter of man. Years pass by, and still Abraham and Sarah do not conceive a child. So Sarah decided to take the matter into her own hands, and so she asked her servant Hagar to have a baby for Abraham and her. And so Hagar conceives, and now Sarah becomes upset. She ends up actually despising Hagar, especially the fact that she conceived a boy. Sarah despises Hagar and Ishmael, and God speaks to Abraham and tells him to send them away. This must have truly hurt Abraham, and I'm sure that Ishmael and Hagar both felt rejected. Had Sarah obeyed God, and had Sarah had enough faith to wait on the Lord, this could have been avoided. However, God still gave Hagar a promise that Ishmael would also be the father of many nations. God did not forget Ishmael. Eventually, after 10 years, Abraham and Sarah gave birth to the promised son that the Lord had for them. They named him Isaac. Isaac played an important role in the history of Israel. God tested once again Abraham, and this time around he told Abraham that he would have to take his only son, his firstborn son, and sacrifice him. God was actually testing Abraham's obedience. And so Abraham did just as God instructed him, because Abraham had faith in God. And so he took his firstborn son Isaac, and he was ready to sacrifice him on the cross, which would be the greatest test of his entire life. But God is faithful, and God provides for Abraham. He provides for him the sacrifice ram, and he didn't have to sacrifice his son. God was doing this to test Abraham. But God had a plan for Isaac the whole time, for he would become a very important father to very important children that would fulfill the promise that he had to Abraham. And so the Lord always provides for us. God's love for us is so intense. In the same way that he sacrificed his son for us, Abraham was willing to obey God and sacrifice his son, but God provided a ram in his place, just like he provided Jesus in our place. And so Isaac's story goes on, and he moves on and he meets Rebekah, and Isaac and Rebekah give birth to twins. One of the sons' name is Jacob. Jacob plays an important role because not only is he the son of Isaac, he's the father of 12 sons. And one of the sons plays a major role in Israel's history. His brothers rise up against him in jealousy. He goes through a period of testing as well. And God knows exactly what he's made of. His heart is for God. And so God places him in a position in Egypt where later on his brothers would come to him, and he would be able to save his brothers and Jacob and play a major role in saving the covenant people that God had wanted to protect. Through his obedience in God and for his love of God, the Lord placed him in a position. Joseph being the grandson of Isaac, the son of Jacob, called to save God's covenant people. God had a plan. So Joseph's life reflects that of Jesus. He was betrayed by his brothers into the hands of the Gentiles, but God turned around this betrayal for Israel and all the world to be saved, because God had to protect his people because of the promise that he made with Abraham. Isaac, being the only son that was born, is very important because he was the only son that Abraham and Sarah conceived, yet out of him came the 12 sons. Out of him came his grandchildren, and they were able to save the people. when they suffered through the famine. God was faithful. God is always faithful to his promises. We may not understand why things happen that they do, but like Joseph said, what the enemy means for bad, God turns around for the good. God always has a purpose, and every person, no matter who they are, plays an important role in the history of this world. Isaac was definitely one of those people, because his children, his grandchildren, played a major role in the history of Israel.